Welcome to NBA Today. I'm Malika Andrews, joined by Richard Jefferson and Tim Legler in the building. JJ Redick will be making his ESPN debut in a little bit, and we'll tell you.
Guys.
What are you going to do, man?
Duke, guys.
Just let him have this one. Just let him have this one. He's going to tell us about the Nets' biggest missing piece, and it's not Kyrie Irving. It's not. But before that, LeBron James took over in the fourth quarter at Staples Center last night. Let's take a little bit of a closer look at that game. LeBron James, there he is, hosting the Rockets in Staples Center. So the fourth quarter, Lakers down 2. LeBron drives. Look at this finish, Richard.
It's beautiful. I know we're going to gloss over how great he is, and you see this here. He's working the pick and roll because he's 6 foot whatever. But at the end of the day, it's a 100-point game against the Rockets, and it's 7 minutes to go.
A little left-handed layup. It was a run for LeBron as he scored 10 points in a row, and the Lakers were up by 4. So then under 5 minutes to play, Avery Bradley can't get it to go, but Anthony Davis is there to clean it up. 27 points, 9 rebounds, 3 blocks. Next possession, LeBron, dominance, 30 points, 10 assists. So now we have 15 seconds to go. Lakers up 4. Green.
Ooh, man, oh man.
He let that one rip. He had
rafters.
24 points, 5 assists.
him.
Look at this final possession. Houston inbounds the ball. Kevin Porter Jr. gets a pretty good look
No,
here.
that's what I'm saying. They had a chance to win. I'm not
Just couldn't quite get it to fall, though.
But man, these lights ain't for everybody. But look, I can't compliment them on that.
Yeah, well.
Way to do what you're supposed to do.
LeBron took over in the fourth by scoring 14 of his 30 points, his most in any quarter this season. And James also made more field goals in the fourth quarter than the first 3 quarters combined, Richard. And it took everything the Lakers had to beat a 1-win Rockets team. But LeBron, with 14 in the fourth quarter, is looking pretty spry. Richard, what do you make of his play down the stretch?
Well, no, it's good to see that the Lakers are doing what they're supposed to do. We remember that epic loss against OKC without LeBron James. But half of the battle in this league is beating the team that you are supposed to beat. Now, should this take you all the way down to the fourth quarter and the Houston Rockets had a chance to win it? Yes, they didn't, but this is not, the Lakers aren't playing their best basketball, but they are getting it done.
Yeah, what I liked about the way the game ended was LeBron at his best is the combination of power and finesse. I mean, the fact that he made some mid-range shots late, that's really when he becomes completely unstoppable. I think what this score indicates is the regular season is just not going to be that important to this team, particularly with all the guys you added. There are a bunch of vets. This is a 6-month drag to get ready for April 15th. And that's when they're going to see this team feel like they can turn it on with all the talent they have, all the experience. But there are going to be nights in the regular season where they're just not going to be laser-focused possession by possession the way that some other teams in this league are, maybe a little bit more with the foot on the gas. And I think that's what this was. The good news is at least it didn't cost them a win.
Right. And they're turning it on when it matters. But do you think that this win, it was 1 win versus a 1-win Rockets team, but is it bigger than just one game? Does it tell you anything else?
I think it was for this reason. I made a joke at the beginning of the year. I kind of said it tongue-in-cheek. I said Russell Westbrook is not going to have any rhythm for the next 8 months, right? And so much so he might forget how to dance, actually, I said, because it's just difficult being in this lane for him. He is so used to being the guy that creates all of the opportunities. So early on, you saw that. He was frustrated. They did not incorporate him. So to see LeBron, AD, Westbrook, and Carmelo Anthony, who, by the way, to me looks more comfortable than at any time since he left the Knicks, because he's in the lane, he was always comfortable. Be you when you're in the game. You're just not a starter anymore. That's fine. Right. Play 25 minutes, but you're going to be mellow when you're out there. So to see all 4 of those guys in rhythm, efficient, on the same night, we haven't really seen that. So for me, it is more than just one win against a bad team. It's also guys understanding, hey, I can do my thing too out here with 2 other guys that dominate the ball, and they haven't really had that opportunity this year.
Yeah, and the one thing that worries me about the Lakers is that they can take this time off. They can build up towards the postseason, but ultimately, if you get yourself in a position where you're the 3rd seed, you're the 4th seed, all of a sudden your route becomes that much harder. Right. Let's look at the Eastern Conference last year when you had Philly #1, and then what did that happen? That meant Brooklyn and Milwaukee were battling it off in the second round. You don't want that early on. You want to build up in the postseason, and the only way to do that is to play well in the regular season.
Slow, steady build. So defensively, the Lakers are 25th in the league in points allowed. What do they need to do, Richard, to maybe right that ship?
Well, I think getting healthy is one. I think they had some of their younger players. You had THT, you had Kendrick Nunn. Those guys are out. Those are guys that were supposed to eat up a ton of minutes, and then the vets were like Carmelo were supposed to come in and just, give you that scoring support. But I think ultimately Frank Vogel has been one of the best defensive coaches since he's been a head coach, going back to his days in Indiana. I think they will figure it out. But those vets, they have to put forth that effort to be great.
Yeah, I agree. And you go back to the team that won the championship a couple years ago in the bubble. They could put lineups on the floor with the combination of length and quickness that no one else could really match. And they actually played more effective zone than any team in the league in the bubble because they had that huge front line along the back. Mm-hmm. They could get out corner to corner, contest threes. They could recover because of their length. So now they've got a little bit older. They added guys a little bit older, and they're just not going to take every possession as seriously. A veteran team like this, they're not. Now, the one thing I think they will be cautious of, they can't come from the 7-hole the way they did a year ago. They learned a lesson. They thought, hey, LeBron and AD healthy, we're going to roll through no matter what hole we come from. No, not true. Right. Not in the Western Conference. So I think they'll be cognizant of that, but I just don't think we're going to talk about them in the same vein as Milwaukee or Miami or some of these teams that can really get into you. Lakers aren't going to be that kind of team. They're ultimately going to have to beat you, I think, Richard, by their offense being cohesive. And last night, or against Rockets, that was a good first step.
Well, and you mentioned that in the Western Conference, I mean, in the Eastern Conference, it's looking tough in some ways in this year. But I am curious, you guys, taking a little bit of a longer lens, looking at the West right now, where the Lakers are, where everything is shaking out. What are your impressions right this moment of that conference and where things could move and shake?
Well, look, I think right now, when I look at this, the conference, and you're saying, okay, the Jazz and the Warriors, if you were to put the Lakers against either of those teams in a 7-game series, I even think today, I think the Lakers would win that. Now, as the season progresses, but understand the Lakers are supposed to be like the favorite to win a championship at them in Brooklyn. I look at the Miami team. If they were to play a Miami team today in the
Miami
postseason,
looks tough.
They would have a problem. I would probably pick Miami to beat the Lakers if they were to play today. So I know it's the first month of the season, but that's our job. Our job is to show how a team is progressing. And right now, they look average.
Yeah, I agree. And I think when you look at the West, think about some of the teams that we expected to look more like finished products early. Like Phoenix. They haven't hit their stride yet. Yep. Denver's been banged up. These are the teams you expect to be near the top. The Clippers obviously playing without Kawhi. So because of that, even despite the slow start, you kind of look at the Lakers and go, yeah, they're still the team, even though Utah has been the best team in the West so far. When you look at the Lakers roster, ultimately, and some of those other teams are trying to still figure out who they are. They've got new pieces. They're overcoming injuries. Lakers are right there still in the mix. They haven't given up too much ground despite their slow start because other teams are also running in mud a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Lakers are the best team in the conference.
Well, and you can relate to that, right? Like slow start.
100%. That's my entire life.
I figured. The Lakers now have won 3 in a row, and they will host the Thunder tomorrow. And coming up on NBA Today, the point guard Chris Paul is now 3rd all-time in assists. Who better to join us than his former teammate J.J. Redick? And the Nets are still without Kyrie Irving, but that might not be the biggest issue facing Brooklyn right now. Plus, Draymond Green joins us to talk the Warriors' renaissance, Steph's MVP